We're about to hit Thanksgiving, and for many of you freshmen in college, this is going to be your first college Thanksgiving going back home, and you're going to find that it's a little bit different than your high school Thanksgivings. And so there are some things that you should be ready for, especially because you're going to be seeing a lot of your relatives for the first time. I know it was a big thing for me to go back, even in grad school, actually. The questions that would be asked, there's a number of different interview questions you should be ready to answer, like, what's your major? Do you like it? What do you want to do with it? Basically, like, you have to explain, like, a month into college what the rest of your life is going to be like. Mm-hmm. Did you receive that sort of pressure from relatives, especially relatives that you might not see very often?
No.
No, they just didn't care?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I didn't go back for Thanksgiving first off.
Oh, you seem so family-oriented. I would think that you would.
Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense, especially if you went far away. So I'm going to just act like
this is Christmas time in my brain.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, I have to say that from my point of view, like, my mom, my dad, I would be in pretty close contact generally, so they didn't ask these sorts of questions. Yeah. But I know that especially once I was in graduate school and I had, like, a dissertation I had to work on, the same questions from every aunt and every uncle and every cousin, like, what are you going to do? Are you out? Are you done yet? Do you have 6 more months? And that's something that you have to be ready for. But there are other things as well. For instance, once you go into college, generally that's when I think a lot of people will develop their sort of
wine maybe 4 times at most.
So were you able to, for that reason, avoid political disagreements over dinner?
No, I mean, my dad, I became kind of a little bit more liberal over my college years, and my dad would be like, where did you come from?
Oh, so he's more conservative than you?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you actively engage in those arguments, or did you have a way of avoiding it? Oh, so you'd fight with him.
And then I kind of reverted back to my dad, very, very uber conservative, now that I've graduated. And now my brother is the liberal one. He's like going to Tufts in Boston, and he's all, Mr. Philosophy, I'm so smart, and I know everything. It's like, no, you don't, Derek.
So do you argue with him?
Yeah, we all argue. It's like one of my favorite things, though.
So you like it?
We love it. Yeah, I love engaging and really interesting. You know.
I think if you have a family where you can have those arguments and like it doesn't lead to any like bad blood, that's a good thing. I know that there's a couple people in my family that are super conservative. Like we tend to be pretty liberal, but I know my younger brother, for instance, very conservative.
How old is he?
He's a year younger than me. So you can do the math on your own. But I know I would not want to have those arguments because for me, especially because politics matters so much to me, that would lead to bad blood. And so I think that generally avoiding certain topics, like they always say, you don't really talk about money, politics, or religion, and also trying to avoid getting too drunk around people that you know are predisposed to argue with you.
Don't let it lead to bad blood. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Come on.
But isn't everyone entitled to try to influence other people's opinion?
Yeah, sure. And if you don't like it, just whatever. But it doesn't work,
especially if you're drinking.
Oh, God. I think that's so weird and lame.
Okay, well, I like that your family doesn't have these sorts of problems.
But to each their own.
Okay. Ricky, Thanksgiving's at the Strom household. When you went back, like, you had been in a bigger city, or you grew up in suburbs? Yeah. Okay. As you started to change in your time in college, did you find that you had any pushback from your immediate family at these holiday gatherings?
No.
No? They didn't care?
No. None whatsoever.
Maybe this is an East Coast thing or something, but I found that I would get grilled when I went home. And in a good way, like they saw it as being invested in my life, but I always dreaded it because it's the same stuff every time.
I mean, they would take like slight jabs, but it wasn't anything serious. I mean, we wouldn't argue about, politics or anything like that. I mean, I think they valued
most of the people that I knew that went to college went to UConn, so I saw them all the time. And it can be a very weird experience to be re-exposed to your friends who you've been having all these classes learning about all these German film and civilization and blah, blah, blah. And they've been continuing their jobs at the mall or going for their careers that did not require the college route. That can be a pretty shocking experience, I think, to see how different you become as you diverge to college.
I love going back home from a social point.
Okay, well, you do have the aura of coolness. That is, you've retained that ever since freshman year. Anyway, so these are just a couple of things that you should consider when you go back. You're going to be seeing people you haven't seen in months. And for you, so much has happened during your first few months in college. For them, it's pretty much life as usual. So just be cognizant of that. Try to keep your wits in terms of drinking and stuff, and you should have a good Thanksgiving holiday.